My best friend is absolutely convinced that her boyfriend is cheating on her. With me, I've known my best friend for years, and even though she has so many amazing qualities, one of her fatal flaws is that she literally doesn't trust anyone. And this isn't totally her fault because she's had a lot of guys in the past cheat on her, which has created really severe trust issues, but my girl has not worked through those. She needs to go to therapy, but hasn't done that. Now, I was always the single one in our friendship, and she always had a boyfriend. So when I started dating my boyfriend and she was single, she was not happy about it. And she was constantly getting upset with me for not spending enough time with her or for always choosing my boyfriend over her. And it was just getting so stressful because I felt like I could never win. Then one day I had the most genius idea that would solve everybody's issues. My boyfriend's best friend is literally one of the nicest guys I've ever met. And also he was really looking for something serious. I set them on a blind date and it went super well. And they started dating like a month after meeting. Everything was perfect. We were double dating. They were getting along. I thought that all of the problems were in the past, but no, I was wrong. There were way more serious issues to come. So she slowly starts to trust this guy and I'm like, you know what? She just needed a good, trustworthy man to get over those trust issues. No, she needed therapy. Everything fell apart last week when my best friend showed up unannounced at my front door in absolute waterworks. I was like, girl, what is going on? And she was like, he's cheating on me. I was shocked. This man, he would be the last man in the world I would ever think would cheat. He is just the biggest golden retriever energy in the world. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. How did you find out? Did you read text messages? Did you walk in on him? Like, girl, what happened? And she's like, no, I found a hair tie in his car. I was like, oh, rewind. So are you saying that he admitted this hair tie belonged to a girl he was cheating with? Because a hair tie in a car can mean a lot of things. You don't even know how long that hair tie has been in the car. She looked at me like I was the dumbest person in the world. She's like, Kels, obviously cheaters aren't going to ever admit that they're cheating. He's trying to tell me that the hair tie belonged to his sister. I was like, okay. I mean, his sister and him live like 5 minutes away from each other and spend a ton of time together. So that is the most logical solution. I was like, listen, I know that a lot of guys in the past have done you wrong and cheated on you, but I really do think he's a good guy. I don't think he would do that. Also, y'all spend so much time together and he's always working. So when would he even have time to cheat on you? Really, I think the most realistic scenario here is that it was his sister's hair tie. But as I'm talking, I see her look down to my wrist and all the color drains from her face. I'm like, what's wrong? She just points and goes, that hair tie on your wrist. I was like, this hair tie? She's like, yeah. That was the exact type of hair tie I saw in his car. I was like, yeah, I mean, it's a blonde hair tie. It's like the most basic hair tie that every blonde girl has. And his sister's blonde, so I'm sure it is the same hair tie. I think a lot of people own this hair tie. I go to one of my friends' houses and I need to borrow a hair tie and she's blonde. This is the hair tie they give me. The blonde girls get it. And she starts losing it on me. She's like, why were you in his car? Like, why are you lying to me? I was like, okay, I've been in his car one time over a year ago. I was in the back seat. My boyfriend was in the passenger seat. I haven't been in it recently. I didn't leave that hair tie. I don't know what to tell you. And she looks back down at my hands and she starts losing it even more. She's like, what is that ring you're wearing? I've never seen it before. And I look, I'm like, what? Oh, it's the dairy ring that my boyfriend just bought me last week for our anniversary. If you don't know what a dairy ring is, the concept is absolutely wild. But whenever you're buying it, you have to show proof of ID and you can only buy a dairy ring for one person in your entire life. So for our anniversary, my boyfriend got me one to show his commitment to me and that he would never be able to buy one for any other girl ever. It was very cute. And my best friend starts jumping to the most insane conclusions. She's like, no, the timing is way too coincidental and my boyfriend must have bought you that ring to show his commitment to you. I was like, I don't know what to say. I'm sure that my boyfriend can show you the receipt that he bought it. She's like, no, I don't trust it. Those things can be faked. He could have photoshopped it. I was like, how many Photoshop skills do you think my finance bro boyfriend has? My best friend told me that the only way that her boyfriend can prove that he's not cheating on her with me is to buy her a dairy ring. Because she said that whenever he goes and tries to buy a ring for her, he won't be able to because he's already bought one for me. I was like, you know what? That sounds like an amazing idea. I think you should do that because obviously he did not buy me the ring. And silly me, I think this is all just going to blow over by the next day. But I was wrong because my best friend calls me and goes, I knew you were lying. My boyfriend's refusing to buy me a dairy ring, and he's telling me it's because it's too soon or that he feels like he's being manipulated in this situation, but I know the real reason is because he won't be able to buy me one because he already bought one from you. I immediately I can't do that. I hang up because there's nothing I'm going to say to her to make her change her mind, and I immediately call her boyfriend, and I was like, okay, what's good? Can you just go buy her the ring, please? Please? And he's like, no. I was like, have you already bought a ring for somebody in the past and that's what's happening? He's like, no, I've never bought a dairy ring for anybody before, but I don't want to feel like I'm being forced into this because of her insecurities and her trust issues. I was like, I get it. I get your perspective. It's very fair. But this is really impacting me right now. And I need you to do me a favor. I need you to just do this so that she can get over this. I have absolutely zero idea what to do in this situation because my best friend's boyfriend is absolutely refusing to buy this ring. And my best friend hates me right now, is going around to all of our mutual friends, telling them that I'm cheating with her boyfriend. Truly, I'm lost for what to do because there's an easy solution and I just need to find a way to convince this man to get that ring. I had no idea that it was actually possible to be so convinced that somebody was cheating with so little evidence. Actually, with no evidence. Apparently, my best friend went to her boyfriend's apartment and started ripping through absolutely everything to try to catch proof that he was cheating on her with me. And according to her, she found irrefutable proof that the two of us were cheating. The proof? It was a birthday card. A birthday card for his birthday last year before the two of them ever even met. At that point last year, I was really trying to get closer with my boyfriend's friends because we were getting more serious, and I knew that my boyfriend's best friend had gone to the same college as me. We didn't know each other in college. We never met in college. We were a few years apart, but I thought that it would be a great idea for a birthday gift to get him a sweatshirt for the college we went to and tell him happy birthday. So I gave him the sweatshirt with a birthday card that just said, happy birthday, hope you have the best day, hope you like the sweatshirt, something like that. But I signed it Heart Kels. That's how I sign all my letters, with a heart. I also want to make it clear that he did not just save this one card for me. The man has a thing where he is pretty sentimental and he saves every single card that people write for him. So she found this one card in a big grouping of like over 50 cards and she went through every single one of them. But she takes this gift and she runs with it. She's like, why didn't either of you ever tell me about this gift? Why didn't you ever tell me about this card? It's like, because you guys didn't even know each other when I got him this gift. My boyfriend helped me pick out the gift for him. Like, it is so innocent. And even though I love my best friend, I did come to the conclusion that it probably was not the best idea for her boyfriend to buy her a dairy ring because she was just going off the wall. And obviously she's just not in a point in her life to be in a relationship. And even though she kept saying the only way that she would feel better about the situation is if her boyfriend bought her a dairy ring, her boyfriend was just so adamant that he wasn't going to do it because it was way too soon and the way she was acting was absurd. And honestly, I shouldn't even have done this and played into her delusions, but I even sent her a screenshot of my boyfriend's order for the dairy ring for me. This screenshot was legit. It showed that my boyfriend followed the rules, that he had to show proof of ID to show he's never bought a dairy ring before and be put into the system so he could never get a ring for anybody else ever again. But this wasn't enough for my best friend. She didn't believe it. She thought that we could be faking it. And let me tell you, we couldn't. We could not have been faking that. It was a very legitimate screenshot. And I felt like a bad friend doing this, but eventually I just started ignoring all of her calls and texts because there was nothing I was going to say that was going to make it better, and her boyfriend wasn't going to buy her a dairy ring. But out of nowhere and uninvited, I got a special little visitor at my door, and you can guess who it was. Yeah, it was my best friend. Suddenly, she's a completely new person. She's in the best mood I've ever seen her. But I looked down at my best friend's hand and there's no dairy ring, so I'm kind of confused what has happened to make her change her tune. Apparently, her boyfriend did the love check on the dairy ring website, which shows that he's never bought the ring for anyone else before and proved that he didn't buy the ring for me. Duh. Apparently, her boyfriend told her that when he's ready to propose, if she still wants a dairy ring, he'll buy her one then, but wasn't going to buy her one right now because it's way too serious. My best friend did feel really bad. She said the whole situation made her realize the significance of the ring and how she was just trying to use this whole thing in a really unhealthy way. And I mean, I did forgive her. I love her, but yeah, definitely made me feel different about our friendship.
How many of you have gone to sleep one night only to wake up the next morning to find out your partner, in my case, my husband, has been living a double life and you never had a clue? I found out about this on Wednesday, March 18th, 2009. That was the first time that I discovered I was married to someone living a secret double life. And I'm excited to tell the story to you of how it was revealed to me and everything that happened in the ensuing days, months, and years after discovering this. I do have to say and preface this with, it's a whole lot more than just the fact that I thought I was worth $10 million and discovered I was actually penniless. So on March 18th, I was headed out on an errand when my phone rang. It was my ex-husband calling, telling me that he was hoping to spend some time with me that morning. So I turned the car around and met him at our motorhome. Now, he told me later that it was intentional that he had me meet him at our motorhome because he knew I hated the motorhome. I hadn't wanted it. I didn't think it was necessary. I thought it was another one of his frivolous, excessive purchases. But we owned it. He wanted to have a chat with me. So he asked me to meet him at the motorhome, and I did. We sat down at the kitchen table of the motorhome, and he destroyed my world. He also told me later that he had planned that day, that moment, for over 1 year. So I walk in, I sit down at the kitchen table in the motorhome, and he had been on the phone. He ended his phone conversation, sat down, and told me that he wanted to talk to me about his company, Market Street Advisors. This was his full-time job. It was his investment company that he owned and ran. And he said, I need to tell you that my company, Market Street Advisors, is a sham, and it has been from the very beginning. I've actually been running a Ponzi scheme. It's hard to even breathe when I think back to that moment and being told that particular sentence. I honestly wasn't too sure what a Ponzi scheme was. I knew it was an illegal thing to do, but I hadn't paid much attention to Ponzi schemes beyond that. He then proceeded to tell me that 2 days before, on Monday, March 16th, he had hired an attorney. That on Tuesday, March 17th, St. Patrick's Day, ironically, that was the day I took the last family pictures of the family as I knew it, only I didn't know those were the last pictures I would ever take of our family. But anyway, on Tuesday, he, in the company of his attorney, had turned himself in to federal authorities, representatives of the U.S. government, and revealed his crimes. Later that night, while we were gathered at the TV as a family watching American Idol, he got up in the middle of the show, announced that he had to go to a meeting with our church leaders. He left for a period of time, came back while the show was still on, sat down, continued watching American Idol with us, and when I asked how his meeting had gone, he told me fine, and went to bed that night thinking everything was normal. And then on that morning, Wednesday, March 18th, that was the date that all of those people had given him to tell me. So I was the fourth reveal, the fourth conversation or party that he told. And I can guarantee sometimes the wife really is the last to know. That's exactly what happened in my case. So he's destroyed my world. My mind is reeling. None of this seems real to me. And he proceeded to tell me that all of our assets were frozen and scheduled for seizure by the federal government. He told me that he anticipated being charged within 7 days, sentenced within a month, and taken into custody within 6 to 7 weeks. And following all of that, he anticipated serving a sentence of 5 to 7 years in federal prison. When he uttered the words prison, I cannot even describe how that felt or what I was thinking. My mind was reeling. I didn't know how I was going to live or support my family or anything. I did hear the word prison, But I remember thinking and saying to him, oh my gosh, well, thank goodness the house is paid off. At least the kids and I will have a place to live. And when I expressed that out loud to him, he said, no, you don't understand. The house is gone. The cars are gone. The savings and investments are gone. Everything is gone. And then he reminded me that everything would be seized by the federal government and would go toward paying restitution to the victims of his crimes. So at the same time that my mind is reeling and I'm feeling shock and horror and disbelief, there is just a part of me centered in darkness. I just could not comprehend. It felt like I didn't even understand English. I just kept trying to process it, and it wasn't working. I also kept thinking, he's got to be joking. This can't be real. No way is any of this true. He'd always kind of been an absent-minded professor, forgetful about names or dates. Even once on a cruise in October, I had had a beautiful cake delivered to me with all of the wait staff congratulating me on my anniversary. Only our anniversary was in August. And I reminded my ex-husband of that, and he looked at me stunned and in shock, thinking, wait, well, what have I forgotten? This is for your birthday then. And I reminded him, no, my birthday is also in August. So he was just forgetful about some things. So the whole time he's telling me this, I keep thinking, this has to be a joke. This has to be an April Fool's joke. April Fool's Day is only a few weeks away. He's always confused about the calendar. This has to be a prank. But this is so not funny. He is not being very funny right now. I also remember asking about one client in particular, the father of one of my really good friends that I had known since college, even longer than I had known my ex-husband. I knew that that particular person had invested money with him a few months earlier, maybe up to a year earlier, and I was worried about them, worried about that money. And I remember asking, well, what's their situation? How are they? How could you do that to them? And he assured me they would be fine, that there would be restitution. And then, despite all of that, somehow, despite all of the shock and horror, a small yet insistent voice in my head was strongly speaking to my mind. Is that all? Ask him, is that all? Is there more? Is that all? Ask. I felt like a fool because I couldn't really imagine what else there could be. I mean, wasn't a secret double life of crime enough? My mind just would not stop reeling. But I listened to that insistent voice and repeated the question out loud. Is that all? I don't know that I was even expecting an answer, but I got one, and it wasn't all. He shook his head no, and then he revealed that in addition to running a Ponzi scheme and defrauding the world, he had also hired call girls. Now, if crime hadn't blindsided me enough, for some reason, the infidelity shocked me as much or more than approximately his 15 years of crime. I still think I couldn't believe any of it or comprehend any of it, but then he started to cry. And I'm not sure if I'd ever seen him cry before. And that's when it hit me. This was real. He wasn't joking. My life was suddenly a nightmare. This cannot be happening. This cannot be me. This cannot be my life. It felt like the walls and the world was closing in on me, and I had to get away.
I had to prepare for this story time. Receipts, proof, timeline, everything. I literally can't see out of these. I found out this information when I was getting ready for my last date night. And I'm ready. Remember how in that last video I talked about being annoyed because I had just found something out about someone that I had been seeing? This is that story time. I started seeing this guy in October last year. It was kind of like a mutual friend setup, and I felt like we pretty quickly hit it off the bat. hit it off the bat. We very quickly hit it off. I don't know where the bat came from. Hit it off right off the bat. First text was October 18th. And this was still fresh, like into me starting dating again. He was only like the second person that I was going out with post my divorce. And he also was freshly coming out of a long-term marriage. So we both went into it at that point saying, neither of us are ready for anything serious, but let's just F around and find out. You know what I mean? We start hanging out. I learned more about his story. And he honestly, deep in my heart, became like my Shayla. I just felt like he was just like this kind, super good guy that a lot of shitty things has happened to. And I had such a soft spot for him right off the bat. So we're hanging out. I feel like feelings kind of start to develop. We are acting like boyfriend, girlfriend, talking every day, doing things that a boyfriend and girlfriend would do. Not going to be explicit, but like you get the picture. And very quickly after that, I start hearing things about him. Mostly from one person who was kind of on bad terms with him, but she was just saying like, hey, you need to be careful. Like him and his ex are still seeing each other. And I'm like, ew. So I confront him about it. I say, listen, I know that we are not dating, but I said, you're the only person that I'm seeing like that. Do we know what I'm saying? And I said, if you want to see other people like that, that's totally fine. I just will bow out. Just give me a heads up. Probably respect it, but I don't want to mix it all up in that way. He says, oh no, that's not like me. I'm not like that. I'm just like a one girl at a time guy. You have nothing to worry about. So then I confront him about his ex that he's supposedly still seeing. He says that's absolutely not true. First mistake, believing a man. So we continue to see each other. A couple weeks later, another person comes up to me and says, hey, I just want you to know his ex was just telling me that they're like still seeing each other. Mind you, I find this information out on my birthday. I'm like, oh. I confront him. He says that's absolutely not true. We do a lot of back and forth. I'm like, this feels weird that now I'm hearing it from two different people. He says it's not true. I say, okay. We keep hanging out. He moves into a new house. I help the man move. Packing boxes, driving to the house, unpacking boxes. Mistake number 2, doing wife duties when you're not a wife. I'm seeing him probably 2 times a week on average, talking every day. And then mid-December, I don't hear from him. Poof, gone. He disappears. A week goes by, and I'm like, you're not ghosting me, are you? So I send this man a text. I say, quote, are you alive? End quote. Oh, sorry. He texts me back the next day. LOL, yes, I am very alive. Sorry, went out of town and did a major disconnect. I'm still trying to be chill at this point, but I say, I didn't anticipate you ghosting me. He says, I went fully off the grid and didn't talk to anyone. Wasn't ghosting. So then I get a little sassy, okay? I said, have you been fully off the grid for a full week? He says, no, but why does it feel like I'm getting in trouble? Ew. I said, oh my gosh, stop being dramatic. Like, feel like I'm not getting the full answer. He says, no, I just needed some time to myself. We have a little small talk after that. Conversation dies down. And then neither of us reach out to each other after that for a few weeks. I was bothered by the whole thing. I'm like, this is like so ew that he just like can disappear like this, but whatever. It is what it is. He then randomly pops up 2nd week of January. Texts me something like as if nothing's even happened. So I kind of call him out. I'm like, hello, do you think you've done anything that's not very nice? He says something like a 12-year-old boy would say, which is, I just felt like if we kept talking, it was going to be a fight and I just wanted to avoid it. And then he sends me this really long text about how the good guys that are worth keeping around will not like your TikToks. They will find them as, quote, a major red flag, unquote. I literally can't see through those glasses. I just think they're so funny. And I'm not gonna lie, I really did get in my head about that. I considered deleting my TikTok altogether because I'm like, good thing I didn't fully buy into it and like believe him and him too seriously, because Come to find out, he's saying this because he didn't want to happen what was about to happen. I make that post about headphones guy, right? Which is a completely different guy, by the way. This is not the same person. I get a message from this girl on TikTok. She says, hey, is the guy in your headphones video named this guy's name? And it's like not a super common name. So I'm like, I said, no, it's about someone different, but I kind of dated someone named. I'm like, what's the last name? She gives me the last name. It's the same guy. She goes, oh, the headphone story kind of sounded familiar because this guy has like kind of a crazy ex too who was like trying to sabotage our relationship. And so he bought me headphones and a blanket. And first of all, what is with all these men with, is there a sale on headphones I don't know about? So I'm like, she was kind of part of the reason to like why we couldn't really work out either, because I kept hearing that he was still seeing her. He kept saying it wasn't true. I'm like, I can't keep believing him. And it was always kind of a point of contention. She goes, oh no, girl, it's true. They were seeing each other the entire time. She goes, I bet me and you had some overlap too then. And I'm like, yeah. I go back in my text. I look at when we start talking. When we stop talking, I said, we basically were seeing each other mid-October to like mid-December. She goes, yeah, we were on and off for a year, but there definitely was some overlap. She starts naming some dates. I said, I kind of helped him move into his new house. She goes, oh, he gave me a tour of the new house like the day after he moved in. So this man really was just like rotating us through. This girl Monday, this girl Tuesday, this girl Wednesday, this girl Thursday. And then I said, but he kind of ghosted me mid-December. I didn't hear from him. It was weird out of nowhere. She goes, oh, when in December? I give her the dates. She says, oh, he was on vacation in Mexico with me. I said, oh, no invite? That's crazy. Oh, it's funny. So we make this connection. I follow this girl on Instagram. I was like, I can't even be that mad. She's stunning. At least you have good taste. And then she sends him a text. And I don't know exactly what she said, but she says something about having talked to me. So then this man calls me right after. And I forgot to mention, he and I had been on good terms again because I would run into him at the gym. We'd kind of talked it through at the gym. We both understood that we were just like kind of two hurt people going through divorces. Like we didn't work out with each other, but I didn't think he was like a bad guy, you know? This is before I found everything out. Then he calls me and he's like, the first thing he says is, oh, I thought me and you were good. And I'm like, huh? I was like, yeah, we were good until I like just found everything out. Like, what are you trying to say? He's like, oh, I don't know. I just thought we were good. And I said, are you trying to like call me to find out what I did or did not tell the other girl because you're trying to scramble and cover your own ass? I said, because the only reason you should be calling me right now is to say, I'm so sorry. That's it. So he says, I am really sorry. I'm very sorry. I was very selfish. And at the end, he says, I'm just trying to be better. I just want to ask that you just don't put me on blast. I said, oh, so that's what this is about. You're calling to make sure that I'm not going to make a TikTok about you. I said, you are 34 years old. These are called consequences to your actions. So if you don't want to be called out for doing shitty things, don't do shitty things. He, the entire time, had been looking us both dead in the eye and saying he wasn't seeing anyone else. He wasn't talking to anyone else. I just think someone who can just like so easily just like lie to your face, that's the spookiest of all. Because where does it end? So anyway, that's why I have lost all faith in men. I'll assume everything you tell me is a lie. And I'll be single forever. Thanks for watching. Love ya. Bye.